Good afternoon, everyone. Mary Sloan here with another episode of Inspirational Influencer News, People Making a Difference. And my guest this afternoon is definitely someone who is making a difference. Brian Gregory is the CEO and founder of ADMANITY. And if you've ever wished that a professional ad agency would coach you about what it is that you should do to get your brand out there and get it found, then you can stay tuned because that's what we're going to talk about today. And you haven't paid a professional ad agency thousands of dollars to get this. So we are going to talk about how ADMANITY can help you create a breakthrough by identifying the emotional algorithm that can instantly give any business the advertising strategies, the tactics, and the formulas that will sell it most effectively in the market without, as we said, the high cost of hiring an agency. Brian says small businesses should advertise, and I'm going to add marketing because this is not just for people with big ad budgets. But just like the big brands, but usually they just don't know how. Brian is a former 20-year owner, publisher of large citywide magazines, as well as an expert in direct selling. In addition to creating ADMANITY's algorithm for the ADMANITY protocol, he has written over 2,000 pages of the ADMANITY curriculum and training materials, as well as being the author of the book, Sheep Don't Eat Complicated Grass. And I confess I haven't seen that one, but it certainly sounds interesting. Brian is an expert in emotional marketing and advertising tactics. And today he's going to reveal to you exactly how any small business can do it. So welcome to the show, Brian, and tell us what you really want our guests to take away from today's show.
Well, thanks, Mary. It's wonderful to be here. I'm excited. We're going to go over some really cool stuff and hopefully some items that the listeners are not familiar with, so they'll take away a learning experience. One of the things that ADMANITY is all about is if you look at our name, it's advertising plus humanity. That's where we got the word ADMANITY. And ADMANITY is all about showing small businesses exactly how they should be marketing. And I notice I say should be because most small businesses are not doing it correct, but how they should be marketing so that they can emotionally align with their audience. And in other words, start speaking the language that they want to hear and start understanding that customers buy on emotion, not on logic, not on facts. They use their subconscious mind, not so much their conscious mind when they're making a buying decision. And so as we, as marketers and business people, try to sell things out there, we must understand the language that sells it the best. And today we're going to talk about some of the subconscious cues and things that you can do. And we're going to give away a free gift at the end of the segment here. So those of you stay tuned. I think you'll be delighted. And so let's delve right in.
Sounds great. You know, I've been in marketing for a long time, and one of the things that we always learned was you've got to sell people what they want and then give them what they need, because they're not necessarily the same thing at all. And that's the emotion. You know, we're emotional beings. We are not machines and we're not robots. And so we want what we want. And we don't necessarily even know why. And so it's up to those of us who are marketers to go, okay, I get it. This is what you want, but I know also what you need. So how does ADMANITY help us do that?
Well, you're absolutely correct, Mary. Most people don't realize that we are not intellectual beings having occasional moments of emotionality. We're emotional beings having occasional moments of intellectuality, to be honest. And when we're buying, is especially true. People buy on emotion, they justify on logic, but first we got to get them to buy. So they will do that emotionally. And it is about the want. And one of the tips I'll throw out early in our show is, if you really want to examine how to increase your sales, try this little trick. Write down 10 things, 5 or at least 5, but try for 10. 10 things that the customer, your customer, would wish that you could give them. The fantasy wish list of all time. Would they want it free? Would they want it faster? Would they want it, better? Whatever the crazy list of ransom note demands would be, write that down. And then look at this crazy list and you'll say, I can't do all that. But you might find 3 or 4 that you could do, or figure out how to get very close to. This is closer to what they want than what you are probably selling right now, which is probably what you want to sell them. Big difference. When it aligns with what they want to buy, the transaction happens easy and quickly. When it is not in alignment, you have a hard sell task in front of you, and you have resistance coming out of your prospect. So give them what they want, and they'll give you what you want.
That's so true. And I mean, that for any of us who has been out there trying to make a sale, you really have to kind of get on their side and see how they're seeing it, because we think we've got the answer. Otherwise, we wouldn't be there. But unless we can get them to see it in their terms and from their perspective, they're not going to be much interested in reaching into their wallet and flopping down a credit card or putting out some cash.
It's absolutely true. I mean, it's psychology 101, but they don't teach us this stuff in school, especially when it comes to marketing. The people that do understand it and are masters of it are making very high salaries working for respectable agencies, no doubt. The rest of America, the other 99%, which is small business, will never be able to hire an expensive ad agency, even though they should. We love ad agencies, but they have a price tag, don't they? And so the rest of small business America, Main Street USA, gets no help in this thing called branding, this thing called marketing. How do we persuade another person to like us, trust us, and want to buy from us? And it is not, hint, hint, throwing them a bunch of facts about our business, which is what most people do when they try to figure out what should go in my ad. Oh, I know, I do all these things, and I'm wonderful at this. I got this award, and I do this on Tuesdays. And it's fact, 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 fact. And the consumer can take your facts and throw them right on the ground and say, well, I don't believe that. I don't know about that one. Well, that one's just simply against my principles, and on and on and on. They can throw away all your facts, but they will not throw away your emotional triggers and cues. And that's what we teach you how to do, is to get emotionally bonded with your customer so that they like you, trust you, and want to buy from you.
So how exactly does ADMANITY help people find that emotional connection to their customer?
Well, we knew it would have to be easy, because marketing is never easy. So ADMANITY, thankfully, it is quite easy. You simply go online, and there's a 5-minute assessment, true, false, simple questions about your brand. You just answer true or false. And 5 minutes later, you have a lot of answers, at least 40, maybe 50 answers or more, tips, pieces of wisdom, nuggets to help you improve how you market your brand. So you get instant results from us right off the bat. And then if you want to take it to the next level, we can give you extreme details and get very granular, the strategies, the tactics, the words, the phrases, the colors, the upsells, customer win-back formulas, everything you'll need for the next, let's say, 20 years to run your brand. And so what we do is we simply ask you questions that are helping us create sort of an emotional map of your brand, your company, something that you probably haven't thought of in that way. We think of it in that way because that's the way it's going to take to sell it. And then we just sort of show it to you in a new light, in a different way than you've ever seen it before. And we give you a lot of tips right off the bat. And we'll even have a consultation with you for absolutely free if you'd like. But, that's how we do it. We attack it from the emotional selling aspect versus the informational way to go.
So as I understand it, there's sort of just 15 basic ways or basic emotions that you need to understand in order to be highly effective. Am I correct?
Yeah, and in our research, Mary, we looked. Here's what we did: we looked at all the best ads, over the last 100 years. We said, okay, let's just look at the ones that were home run winners, because those are the ones we want to study. The rest of them we really don't care too much about. They didn't work. So when you start looking at all these successful ads, you start to see patterns. You start to see the same formula, if you will, happening over and over. Maybe a different product, but it's the same idea. And guess what? Every time they used those formulas, it worked again and again and again. And what we came up with was there were 15 emotions out of all the emotions of humanity. 15 are ideal for selling products and services. And I submit to you that list of 15 is one of the smartest things you could ever become proficient at, because everything we sell involves these same emotions. They just keep coming back into the game, because for whatever reason, humans like them. This is what motivates us to buy. This is what motivates us to fork over the credit card and say, I'll take it. And I can't explain why. It's part of our DNA, but it is what it is. And once you understand them and how they interlink, because they work together, no one emotion is an arsenal, but when you start combining them, they get very, very powerful. And that's what we call a formula. And we show you the formulas for your brand, but it all starts with those core 15. We call them primal because they have literally been embedded into our DNA for thousands of years. You have the same emotional toolbox, by the way, as Caesar, Mozart, Shakespeare, Aristotle. These people that had done so well in the past did so because they were more emotionally evolved and understood how to persuade others to think as they did. So take a lesson from history. It hasn't changed. We're showing you the roadmap.
Well, what's so interesting about how you express that is we sort of don't think, or I'll just go with myself, I sort of don't think about Mozart selling me anything, or Shakespeare selling me anything. And yet clearly they both wanted my attention and had to sell me something so that I would give it to them.
And they both, for their time, they used the formulas that work in their time. One of the things I always do when I'm doing a seminar, I ask people, I say, hey, do you like James Bond? And everybody raised their hand. And I said, well, guess what? Good news. The next James Bond movie is going to be almost identical to the last 29 James Bond movies. So you'll be in luck. Now, why is that? Because it's a formula. They know it's a formula. You kind of know it's a formula. Come on. And you want that formula. You like that formula. And so they won't deviate because everybody agrees it's great. Game shows have a formula. They're all very similar. Sitcoms have a formula. Top 40 songs have formulas. Songwriters will tell you this. Story time for children, it's a formula. It always has been. All we're saying at ADMANITY is, since humans seem to love formula, here's the formulas that work to sell things. Learn those, make money, be successful, shorten the learning curve, stop wasting money on ads that will not work, and start structuring your message so that it will.
That's pretty brilliant. I mean, who wants to go out there and spend hard-earned money on ads that aren't going to work or are really going to struggle? I've done a lot of advertising over the years, and it's always amusing to me to hear people talk about all the struggles that they have advertising. And yet when you sit down with them, really, it hasn't been the advertising has been the problem. It's been their lack of understanding of how to advertise. It's been the problem. And, so having some formulas that you could turn to so that you're no longer in the dark. I mean, it's like these old copywriters. I mean, some of the copywriting. I mean, I used to, as I was kind of getting into this game and looking at how to get better at copywriting, go through some of these old sales letters. And I mean, there were some amazing writers, and they just sucked you in from that first word. And there you were 10 pages later, still reading happily because you were glued to the page, so to speak. So, knowing the formulas, I mean, maybe we break the rule that says only 3% of people are ready to buy now. Maybe only 3% of people are desperate enough to go past your ineptitude at marketing to them now.
Yeah, maybe only 3% of the people buy because only 3% of the businesses understand how to create a sales message. And that's one of our goals. We want to give out 1 million tests at ADMANITY. We want 1 million businesses to take our assessment. And one of the reasons we want to do that is not to brag about big numbers, but you always hear these numbers about small businesses. 80% will fail within X number of years. These depressing, horrible statistics. It should make you run for the hills if you're thinking about starting a small business, right? It sounds like the worst idea ever. And we want to change that number. We believe that if small businesses truly understood how to market, in other words, they were just given some formulas. Look, do this, this works, just do these. You don't even have to think about it anymore. We think that number would change. We think more businesses would be successful because they'd understand how to convey the message properly instead of just winging it and throwing anything together. When I was in publishing, we used to get ads in our magazine, and you could tell that everyone did their best, but you look at the ads and you say, this is not going to work. They do not understand how to create a high-level message. They just understand how to put a bunch of facts into a square, and they call it an ad. But it's not an ad. It's something that is not going to work. That's what it is. It's just a bad message. So we try to get you to think a little simpler, a little more emotionally, a little more primally, and it works. And the amazing thing is it works almost all the time. And that's how the big brands do it. You alluded to that in my introduction. The big brands, if you ask a big brand CEO, I want you to name 2 emotions that are in all of your commercials, and they'll go boom, boom. They'll name it right away. They understand how to market. They understand their brand. But if I ask that question to small business owners, they'll look at me as if I just spoke Greek because they don't know the emotional triggers that they should be using. So the small brand should advertise just like the big guys, same triggers. It's a human at the end of the message. It's going to respond the same way, right? But just spend less money. You don't have $1 zillion. You might have $200. That's fine. Formulas are free. Words are free. Colors are free. Emotions are free. You can use the same tactics, just spend less.
Yeah, and we kind of know intuitively how colors and words and appearances and things can trigger us emotionally. I mean, there's some things you just kind of recoil at and you turn away and it's like, no, I don't like that. But for, a lot of things, it's clearly not that obvious, and you may not really understand why you're not attracted. I mean, I've looked at a couple of things that people have sent to me and stuff, and I go, well, I thought I'd really be interested, but I'm not interested. It's like they didn't hit my hot buttons at all.
Yeah, it's really interesting, Mary. I mean, here's a good example. I think a lot of people are going to relate to this. You're sitting at home and you're watching TV, and all of a sudden a commercial comes on for Skittles, and this is candy, and their slogan is "Taste the Rainbow," and that's all they want you to do is taste the rainbow. Taste the rainbow. For 28 years, Skittles has been telling us to taste the rainbow. Now, your conscious mind says that's ridiculous. You can't taste a rainbow. I'm not even sure the rainbow really exists in the first place. That's just silly. And yet they've made $1 billion selling Skittles with the slogan, taste the rainbow. Doesn't make sense, but your subconscious mind says, hey, that sounds pretty good. That's emotionally appealing to the subconscious because it likes rainbows and it likes candy and it likes things that taste happy. The commercial is always happy or exciting, right? And so it's a subconscious cue. Someday you're in the store, you're going to pick up a bag of Skittles. It just over time sort of wears you down and you give it a try, and then maybe you're hooked. So this is how it's done. The big brands understand this. They'll almost never give you facts. You know, Charmin, for those who remember the old Charmin commercials, please don't squeeze it. They didn't tell you anything about the product. Just don't squeeze it. So they wanted to raise an emotion of urgency. Don't squeeze this. Of course, everybody went to the store, started squeezing it. What are you going to do once you start squeezing it? You're going to drop it in the cart. You're probably embarrassed. You're in the store squeezing toilet paper. It's just amazing. That was brilliant, by the way, to get the people to touch the product. But you know, you get the idea. We're trying to create a feeling. What do people say when they don't buy? I don't feel like it. That couldn't be any clearer. You have to make people feel like buying. When they feel it, they buy. It's so simple, and yet we make it so hard by keeping. We don't keep people ignorant, but a lot of these principles haven't been, let's say, properly broadcast. Let's just say that.
Well, as I was reading through, I guess, my report and looking at the comments about the Marlboro Man, and of course, I'm dead set against cigarettes and always have been. And it's like, yeah. Yet, you know, I mean, back in the day, of course, they were clever enough to have enough people that hadn't died yet of lung cancer that they could come out and say, well, it doesn't affect everybody. Look at me. And you know, yet the appeal of, you know, somebody like the Marlboro Man was enough to go, oh, I want that. You look tall and strapping. Oh yeah, that's great. You know, I mean, don't we all want to be that cowboy tall in the saddle?
Well, back then is a post-World War II America. This is early 1950s now. So all the GIs are home and they're trying to blend into society. They don't have a gun in their hands anymore. They're simply trying to become part of the working man's world. And that image, that idle image of this guy who had the life handled and he was sitting on his horse in beautiful country, he was an enviable character. And back when everybody smoked something, all they wanted you to do was switch to their brand. So they would say, come to Marlboro country, come to where the flavor is, right? And so switch, basically. We know you smoke something, just try ours. And when you look at the success of that campaign, aside from what smoking ended up to become, the fact that a brand that had been failing for 30 consecutive years
Wow.
could simply just turn the knob a little bit on the dial to a better ad and become $1 trillion sales company. It's almost unimaginable. And even the people at Philip Morris at the time, I'm sure if you asked them, would say there's no way this is going to work because for 30 years we haven't found the secret to sell this thing. Well, it worked. And almost every business that you see today that's $1 billion brand didn't start out on day one as $1 billion brand. And many, what we found when we were doing our research, they hit a point where they were struggling, just like all of you small business people out there. They weren't making it either. And even the ones with big budgets were losing millions of dollars. And then the ad comes along, whether they knew they had it or they were just trying the next ad. But this one hits. And it becomes the ad we studied because that is what you want to know. You want to know what works when everything else failed. And almost every big brand in history has that pivot moment where the ad changed the game. Those are the ads we study because that's the formulas we start recommending because they always seem to keep working. But if you're struggling right now, don't feel bad. Apple, Geico, Federal Express, so many brands. At one point, we're almost down and out of the game completely, and they turned it around with one ad. And you can do it too.
Well, that's really good to know. And so how can they get this wonderful opportunity? Because really, that is an opportunity to get to know what it is that your customers really want on an emotional level. You know, what are they looking to you for from an emotional level? Because we all know, well, once we get realistic about it, we all know that we're emotional beings and that we want satisfaction, you know, don't get no satisfaction. We want that satisfaction, right?
Yes, we do. That's all we want. And as soon as we get some, it's like Chinese food. We want more and more of it, right? More happiness. Give me more happiness. Give me more excitement. We ride the roller coaster, scares us to death. What's the first thing you ask? Can we go again? Right? That's humanity. It is what it is. Play into it. Don't try to go around it. Drive your golf ball right down the middle of humanity and play through, because this is what we're showing you is not new, but the formulas you may see are. And so how do you get your formulas? Well, everyone that's listening right now is in luck, because ADMANITY is going to give you a free brand assessment and give you a chance to assess your own brand. All you have to do is write to us at this email address, info@admanity.com. That's it. And just say, I saw you on Mary Sloan's broadcast and I want my free test. And all we need your first and last name, just so we can properly address you, and your email. That's all we need. And we'll email it over to you. It's absolutely no obligation, 100% free. You will find 40 to 50 new ways to grow your brand, improve your messaging, and improve how people perceive you in the marketplace. Absolutely free. Give it a try. It takes 5 minutes. Five minutes could literally change your brand from a struggling brand to a highly successful one. And I can't stress it enough. It's absolutely free. We'll send you some emails as well, some teachable lessons on marketing and copywriting. It's all free. So Mary, if you just maybe put that in the show notes.
Yeah, and info@admanity.com. I mean, you can see it right here on the screen if you're wondering how to spell it, you know, right there in the logo. So info@admanity.com, and we'll definitely kind of get that up in the notes and around the various places that this is located. And it's there in my YouTube channel, and it's there on my Facebook page, all of the name Inspirational Influencer News. So anyway,
and Mary, one more thing. After you take your test, your assessment on your brand, watch our free webinar on our website. Once you have your brand archetype, as we call it, once we start to identify what you are, go and check out our free webinar on our website. It's absolutely free. And see if that doesn't open your eyes to a whole new way of promoting and your brand and persuading others to buy it. And again, it's an absolute free webinar. There's no cost, no obligation. Enjoy. It's our treat. Thanks. I just wanted to say that.
Oh, no, thank you. And I mean, this is such an amazing treat, or really, really gift, because that's exactly what it is it's a gift, you know. And as we were talking just before the show, I mean, a lot of marketers are out there with quiz funnels, and while they're cute and everything else, there's no science behind it. There's no confirmation that, you know, what the answers come out to. I mean, you know, they're designed to make you interested, but are they accurate, and do they make any difference to your success? This makes a huge, huge difference to your success. So, you know, look to get that little test. And I've been through it. It's only a few minutes. And I mean, it seems so easy. And then all of a sudden you've got this mountain of information that you didn't have any idea about before. So it's truly, truly amazing. And
it seems easy when you take it, and it is. Took us 7 years to build it. Over 1,600 things are being analyzed while you're taking it. And by the way, no two tests are ever alike. So the test is giving you new questions based on how you answered the previous. So everyone takes a different test, and it makes it really, really interesting. So yeah, this is not something that was created in a weekend. This is a high level assessment, but it's fun to take.
Wow, I had no idea. That's amazing. That, every answer you give teaches the test what else they need to know to get accurate results. Wow. I'm
Well,
kind of
yeah,
blown away.
people don't take the test the same way. When you're dealing with mass numbers of people, you'll find that they don't read the question well, or maybe English isn't their first language. There's all kinds of things that can interfere. So the test has to be able to interpret your answers and say, is that in sync with previous answers? If the answer is no, it's going to give you another question to affirm. It's going to make you double down at times. And you'll see that in the test as it's figuring you out. By the end, the questions are very relevant. And it's just fun. People get a kick out of it. If you're a marketing person, you got to try it. It's absolutely a blast. And we can analyze any business, any brand on the planet, for-profit, nonprofit, MLM, does not matter. Business in your head that you haven't even started yet, but you want to, try it out. See what you think. I think we'll get very, very close to the answers you're going to need.
That's amazing. And I'm going to start giving all my guests on my show one of those tests, because everybody that comes on the show has something amazing to market, and they are out there really making a difference. So let's give them something that can really help them. That's amazing.
That's an awesome gift. And as someone who's done this many, many, many times, I can tell you they will come back. And the number one comment we hear is, my mind is blown. The number two comment is, thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I guess. Anyway, Brian, thank you so much. And we'll keep running into one another, since we seem to be moving in the same circles. And I'll be one of your handers who's going, this is amazing. This is amazing. Everybody's excited about this test. So thank you so much. And thank you to ADMANITY and all the science that's gone into it. Absolutely phenomenal.
Well, Mary, thanks for having me on the Inspirational Influencer program. And it's my pleasure. I enjoyed every second. Thanks.
Well, news gets a bad rap. And so I decided that we needed good news. So that's the Inspirational Influencer news, not just the usual news. So
Yay.
thanks a lot.